Hey everyone, welcome back to Motivation Library.
Yeah, always great to be back.
Back with you fine folks to,
Break down some more.
dig into another great book.
Absolutely.
Today we're going deep on traction. Get a grip on your business
Ooh, that's a good one.
by Gino Wickman.
And this one really does deliver on the title. I mean, who doesn't want more traction in their business, right?
Right. And he really lays out a system for achieving that. It's not just theory. He spent over 20 years working with entrepreneurs.
Thousands of businesses, big, small, across all sorts of industries.
Yeah, so the book's packed with real-world examples and practical tools. Like he even shares stories from his own journey, like how he learned about this stuff from his mentor, Sam Cupp.
Who, by the way, built a $100 million business using a lot of the same principles we're going to be talking about today.
Really proves this stuff works.
Exactly. It's not just some pie-in-the-sky ideas. This is a proven system.
So the core of the book is this thing called the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS.
EOS. I love it. So simple.
Yeah, it's basically a framework for getting everyone in your company on the same page and moving in the same direction.
It's like a roadmap for building a healthy, thriving business.
Right. And it all starts with like what he calls the 6 key components: vision, people, data, issues, process, and traction. Each one kind of builds on the other.
Yeah, like a well-oiled machine.
A well-oiled machine. I like that.
Right.
So let's break down those components, starting with the foundation,
The foundation, absolutely.
which is vision.
Vision, so important.
It is, right. Like, if you don't know where you're going, how are you ever going to get there?
You're just kind of wandering around aimlessly.
Exactly. Wickman uses this great analogy of a ship without a rudder. You're just drifting.
At the mercy of the winds and the waves.
Yeah, totally. And he uses a lot of really compelling examples of companies that saw massive growth after they took the time to really define their vision.
Yeah, Image One comes to mind. They went from almost going bankrupt to booming success.
All because they got clear on their vision. So how do we actually go about doing that? Defining our vision? I mean, it sounds kind of vague, a little touchy-feely even.
It can be, but Wickman breaks it down into 8 very practical questions that every business needs to answer.
Okay, so let's dive into those questions. The first one, and he says it's arguably the most important, is what are your core values?
Core values. Such a buzzword these days. But what does it really mean?
Right, we hear it all the time. But it's easy to just like slap some generic values on your website and call it a day.
Exactly. So Wickman encourages us to dig deeper. Core values are those guiding principles, the non-negotiables that really define your company culture and how you do business.
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. They're the soul of your company. They help you make tough decisions, attract the right people, and build a strong, cohesive team.
So how do you actually come up with your core values? Is there like a magic formula?
Not really. It's more about introspection and honest self-reflection. Think about what truly matters to you.
What you stand for?
Yes, what you stand for. What kind of company do you want to create? What kind of impact do you want to make in the world?
It reminds me of Jim Collins' work in Built to Last, where he talks about the importance of identifying your core ideology. It's that enduring set of principles that guides your company, even as the world around you changes.
Exactly. It's your North Star. Wickman uses some really great examples of companies with strong core values, like Zoop. Their core value is literally no jerks.
It's awesome. Straight to the point.
Right. No room for interpretation there. And it creates a really positive and supportive work environment.
Okay, so once you've got your core values nailed down, what's next?
Then it's time to define your core focus.
Your core focus, what is that?
Basically, it's your sweet spot, where your passion, what you're best at, and what drives your economic engine all intersect.
Okay, so it's not just about what you're good at, but also what's profitable.
Right, because if you're not making money, you're not going to be in business for very long.
Makes sense. Wickman talks about this concept of niching down, right? Focusing on a specific target market instead of trying to be everything to everyone.
Exactly. You can't be all things to all people. He uses a great example of this company called Image One. They started out as a general printing company, but they were struggling. They were competing with everyone from like Kinko's to big corporations. It was tough.
So they pivoted, right?
They did. They decided to focus specifically on IT directors and companies with 25 or more laser printers.
That's super specific.
It is, but it worked. They became the go-to experts for that niche market, and their business exploded.
So niching down can be a powerful strategy.
For sure. It allows you to differentiate yourself from the competition, command premium prices, and build a loyal customer base.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together, but it's also a lot to think about.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming, but that's why it's so important to have a system like EOS to guide you.
To break it down into manageable steps.
Yeah.
So we've talked about core values and core focus. What's the next piece of the vision puzzle?
Next up is setting your 10-year target. This is your BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal, something that really gets you fired up.
And it's like that North Star that guides your journey.
Exactly. And even if you don't hit it exactly, it gives you something to aim for, something to inspire your team and keep you motivated.
Okay, that makes sense. But 10 years is a long time. How do you even begin to think about that?
It can be daunting, but Wickman recommends starting by imagining your ideal future state. What does success look like for you?
What kind of impact do you want to make on the world?
Exactly. Don't be afraid to dream big, and don't worry about the how just yet. Focus on the what.
So once you've got your 10-year target in mind, what's next?
Well, then it's time to think about your marketing strategy. How are you going to reach your ideal customer?
Marketing. That's a whole other beast.
It is, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Wickman emphasizes the importance of defining your target market, just like Image 1 did.
Who are you trying to reach? What are their needs, wants, and desires?
And how can you best position your product or service to meet those needs?
He also talks about the importance of defining your 3 uniques, right?
Yes. This is so crucial. What sets you apart from your competitors? What are those 3 things that make you the obvious choice for your target market?
I like this concept. It forces you to really think about what makes you special.
It does. And it gives you a clear message to communicate to your potential customers.
Wickman uses a great example of a property management company called McKinley. Their 3 uniques are high-touch customer service, an owner's perspective, and a commitment to exceeding expectations.
See? Crystal clear. It tells potential customers exactly what they can expect when they work with McKinley.
Okay, so we've covered core values, focus, target market, and 3 uniques. What's next?
Well, then it's time to map out your proven process. How do you deliver your product or service?
The nuts and bolts of how you actually do business.
Exactly. Wickman recommends documenting your core processes from start to finish.
Like a recipe for success.
Yes. And it doesn't have to be complicated. He recommends following the 80-20 rule, focusing on the 20% of the information that produces 80% of the results.
Keep it simple. Got it.
He uses a funny anecdote about a restaurant that insisted on cooking their ham in a pan for hours, even though it was already pre-cooked.
Why?
Just because that's how we've always done it.
Yeah.
It's a classic example of clinging to outdated practices that no longer serve us.
That's hilarious. I think we've all encountered those ham-in-the-pan situations in our own lives.
Definitely. But documenting our processes helps us to identify those inefficiencies and streamline our operations.
And that's where technology can be a real game changer, right?
Absolutely. Use technology to automate tasks, reduce errors, and make things easier for everyone involved.
Awesome. So last but not least, we have the final step in defining our vision, which is creating our 3-year picture.
Ah, the 3-year picture. This is where we start to get really specific.
Okay, so it's like a more detailed version of our 10-year target.
Exactly. It's a clear and inspiring picture of where you want to be in 3 years. And it should be broken down into measurable targets and actionable steps.
So it's not just a vague goal, it's a concrete plan.
Right. It gives you a roadmap for the next 3 years, something to work towards, to track progress against, and to celebrate successes along the way.
And it all ties back to that initial vision, right? To those core values, that core focus, that 10-year target.
Exactly. It's all interconnected. Each piece builds upon the other.
I love how everything comes full circle.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
So that's the vision component of EOS.
Yeah.
Defining your core values, your core focus, setting your 10-year target, figuring out your marketing strategy, identifying your 3 uniques, mapping out your proven process, and creating your 3-year picture.
That's a mouthful.
It is. But it's so crucial. It's the foundation for everything else.
The foundation for a truly successful and fulfilling business.
Exactly. So I think we've covered a lot of ground here on vision.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just the beginning.
But it's an important beginning. So I think it's time to move on to the next component, which is people.
People, the heart and soul of any business.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got vision down. But a vision without the right people to execute it is just a dream.
Exactly. A team makes all the difference.
So let's dive into the people component of EOS. And this one is, it's a biggie.
It really is. It can make or break your business.
It's not just about hiring talented people.
No, not at all.
It's about getting the right people in the right seats on the bus. as Wickman puts it.
Ah, yes, the right people on the bus and in the right seats.
Right. Which sounds simple enough. But how do you actually figure out who those right people are?
Well, Wickman has this really interesting concept called unique ability.
Unique ability.
Yeah, have you heard of it?
I'm not sure.
It's basically about identifying what each person is naturally gifted at, what they're passionate about, what they love to do.
Kind of like finding their superpower.
Yes, exactly. And when you align people's roles with their unique ability, well, magic happens.
Everyone wins.
Exactly. People are happier, more engaged, and more productive. The company thrives.
But what about those people who are already on the bus, but maybe not in the right seat?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
How do you handle that?
Well, first, you have to be able to recognize it. Sometimes it's obvious. Someone's just not performing well no matter how hard they try.
Right, or they're constantly complaining.
Or they seem disengaged. They're just not thriving in their role.
But sometimes it's more subtle, right?
It can be. Sometimes people are good at what they do, but they're not passionate about it, or maybe they've outgrown their role. They're ready for more responsibility, but they're stuck.
So what do you do?
Well, Wickman talks about this analogy of a vine. You know, someone's clinging to a vine, desperately trying to hold on, but they need to let go to reach that next level.
Letting go can be scary.
It can be,
Yeah.
but it's necessary for growth, both for the individual and for the company.
So how do you know when it's time to have that conversation with someone? The "you're the wrong seat" conversation.
Oh, that's never easy. But Wickman has some really helpful tools for navigating those tough conversations. He introduces this thing called the people analyzer.
The people analyzer. What's that?
It's basically a grid where you list your core values, those non-negotiables we talked about earlier, and then you rate each person based on how well they embody those values.
So you're measuring their alignment with the company culture.
Exactly. It takes some of the subjectivity out of the equation. You're not just going with your gut feeling. You're looking at concrete data.
That's really helpful. So if someone's not a good fit culturally, do you just show them the door?
Not necessarily. Sometimes it's a matter of clarifying expectations, providing additional training, or adjusting their responsibilities.
Okay.
But sometimes it does mean moving them to a different role, or in some cases, letting them go.
Which is never easy. But I guess it's part of being a leader, making those tough calls.
It is. And Wickman emphasizes that sometimes letting someone go is actually the kindest thing you can do. Well, if someone's not thriving in their role, they're not going to be happy. And they're probably not going to be doing their best work. So you're actually doing them a favor by freeing them up to find a position where they can truly shine.
I've really thought about it that way before, but that makes a lot of sense.
It does, right. It's about helping people to find their best and highest use, both for themselves and for the company.
I like that. Okay, so let's say you've got the right people identified. How do you figure out which seat is the right seat for them?
Well, Wickman has another great tool for that. It's called the accountability chart.
The accountability chart.
It's basically a visual representation of your company's structure. It outlines who's accountable for what, who reports to whom, who makes the decisions.
It creates clarity around roles and responsibility.
Exactly. And Wickman stresses that the accountability chart should be based on function, not personalities.
So it's not about who you like or who you think would be good at something. It's about what the business actually needs.
Exactly. It's about designing the optimal structure for your company to achieve its goals.
I can see how that would be really helpful, especially as a company grows. So once you've got your accountability chart in place, how do you know if someone is truly the right fit for a particular role?
Well, that's where the GWC filter comes in.
GWC. What's that stand for?
It stands for Get It, Want It, Capacity to Do It. It's a simple but powerful way to assess whether someone is truly set up for success in a particular role.
Okay, break that down for me.
Sure. So get it means they understand the role and responsibilities. Want it means they're passionate about the work. They're motivated to succeed. And capacity to do it means they have the time, the skills, and the mental bandwidth to do the job effectively.
I like it. It's clear and concise.
Yeah.
So if you get a no on any of those three, the person's probably in the wrong seat.
Most likely.
Yeah, so then what? Back to the accountability chart.
Maybe. Sometimes it's a simple fix. Maybe they need more training. Maybe their responsibilities need to be adjusted. But if they just don't get it, want it, or have the capacity to do it, then it might be time to consider a different role.
Tough, but necessary.
It is. But it's all about creating a high-performing team, a team where everyone is thriving and contributing their best work.
And that's ultimately what drives business success.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about vision and people. What's next?
Data.
Ah, yes. Data, the lifeblood of any business. All right, so we've talked vision, we've talked people, we've talked data. What's next?
Well, next up, we got to tackle those pesky issues.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, every business has them.
Oh, yeah. Issues are inevitable. Whether it's, a problem with a customer or a bottleneck in your workflow, there's always something that needs to be addressed.
Always something, right?
Right. So how does EOS handle those?
Well, Wickman has a whole system for that. It's called the issues solving track.
The issues solving track. Okay, tell me more about that.
It's a 3-step process. Identify, discuss, and solve.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's a little more nuanced than that.
You bet it is. First step is obviously identifying the issue, and this is where a lot of companies go wrong. They only address the symptoms, not the root cause.
Yeah, like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
Exactly. Wickman uses this example of, like, a guy named John who's consistently late for work.
Mm-hmm.
The surface issue is his tardiness, right? But maybe he's late because he has to drop his kids off at school first, and maybe he has to do that because his wife works early. So the real issue might be a lack of childcare options.
Ah, so you have to dig deeper.
You got to peel back those layers, get to the heart of the matter, and that's where the discuss step comes in.
So once you've identified the root cause of the issue, you need to talk about it.
Talk it out, get everyone involved, brainstorm solutions. And this is where it's super important to avoid tangents.
Oh, yeah, tangents.
Oh.
Those can derail a meeting faster than anything.
They sure can.
Wickman has a funny little technique for handling those called tangent alert.
I love that.
Right. Just a fun way to bring everyone back to the task at hand.
Keep the meeting focused.
Exactly. So once you've discussed the issue and brainstormed some solutions, what's next?
Time to solve it, make a decision, and take action. And Wickman provides what he calls the 10 commandments of solving issues to guide that decision-making process.
10 commandments, huh? Sounds serious.
It's all about making sure you're making sound, well-informed decisions. Like, for example, one of the commandments is, don't rule by consensus.
Interesting. Why not? I mean, isn't it important to get everyone on board?
Well, consensus often leads to watered-down decisions. Someone needs to be the ultimate decision-maker, someone who's accountable for the outcome.
Makes sense. So you identify the issue, you discuss it, you solve it. What happens then?
Well, hopefully the issue is resolved.
Hopefully.
But even if it's not, at least you've made progress. You've moved the needle. And you've learned something along the way.
You've got a system for addressing those inevitable challenges.
Exactly. Issues become opportunities for growth and improvement.
Okay, so we've covered vision, people, data, and issues. What's next?
Now we get to the good stuff. Process.
Ah, process. I'm a big fan of systems and processes.
Me too. A good process can make all the difference.
So how does EOS approach this whole process thing?
Well, Wickman argues that every business should have well-defined processes for everything.
From marketing to sales to customer service to operations, the whole 9 yards.
Everything. And he emphasizes the importance of documenting those processes in a way that's clear, concise, and easy to follow.
Like writing a recipe for success.
Exactly. He uses this analogy of stepping outside of your business, like you're an outsider looking in. This allows you to see your processes with fresh eyes, identify any inefficiencies, and streamline your operations.
So you can spot those bottlenecks and smooth things out.
Exactly. He tells a story about Franklin Communities, which owns and manages manufactured home communities. They implemented EOS, really focused on their processes, and they saw a huge jump in their occupancy rates, even while the rest of the industry was struggling.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful testament to the power of process. So how do you go about actually defining and documenting those processes?
Well, Wickman recommends starting by identifying your 5 to 10 core processes, the ones that are essential for your business to function.
Okay, so for a restaurant, that might be things like ordering supplies, prepping ingredients, cooking the food, serving the customers, handling payments.
Exactly. Those are the core processes that keep the restaurant running.
And then you want to document those processes step by step.
In detail. But remember, keep it simple. No need to get bogged down in unnecessary complexity. Follow the 80-20 rule. Focus on the 20% of the information that produces 80% of the results.
Got it. But how do you make sure everyone actually follows the processes?
That's the million-dollar question. It all starts with leadership. Leaders have to set the example. They have to be the ones who are following the processes.
Walking the walk.
Exactly. And they have to hold their team accountable, make sure everyone's on the same page.
And technology can be a big help here, right?
Absolutely. Using software to automate tasks, track progress, and streamline workflows makes it easier for everyone to stay on track.
So we've got vision, people, data, issues, and process. What's left?
The grand finale. Traction. This is where it all comes together.
This is what we've all been waiting for.
This is what we've all been waiting for.
I know, right? Traction. It's the holy grail for any business.
Well, how do we get it?
Well, Wickman starts by acknowledging all those frustrations that entrepreneurs face.
Feeling overwhelmed, lacking control, hitting a ceiling, constantly putting out fires, people problems, just general chaos.
All of that. And he argues that these frustrations are often caused by a lack of clarity, accountability, and systemization in the business.
So EOS is the antidote to that chaos.
It can be. It provides that structure and discipline that so many businesses are lacking. One of the key tools for gaining traction is the 90-day world.
The 90-day world. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's all about breaking down your longer-term goals into manageable 90-day chunks. So instead of getting overwhelmed by the big picture, you're focusing on what you can achieve in the next quarter.
Exactly. He uses this analogy of picking cotton. Imagine you're standing in a vast cotton field. It's overwhelming, right? So someone picks up a stick and throws it as far as they can. Everyone then focuses on picking to the stick. When they reach the stick, they throw it again and repeat the process.
I love that visual.
It's a simple but effective way to break down a daunting task into manageable chunks. And in the business world, those sticks are your 90-day priorities. Wickman calls them rocks.
Rocks. Okay, I like it. So you're setting 3 to 7 rocks for the company each quarter.
Yep. And for each department, too.
And these should be SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound.
Absolutely. That way, you can track your progress and make sure you're actually moving the needle.
It's a way to create momentum and keep everyone focused on the most important priorities.
Exactly. And it prevents that feeling of overwhelm and burnout.
I can see how that would be really helpful. So you've got your 90-day world, you've got your rocks. What else is involved in this whole traction component?
Well, another key element is the level 10 meeting. Wickman is a big believer in the power of regular meetings to keep everyone on the same page.
Meetings can be a double-edged sword, though, right? It can be productive, or they can be a huge time suck.
Oh, I totally agree. I've been in my fair share of pointless meetings.
So how do you make sure your meetings are actually valuable?
Well, that's where the level 10 meeting comes in. It's a very specific, structured approach to running meetings.
Okay, so how does it work?
Well, first of all, it's called a level 10 meeting because at the end, everyone rates the meeting on a scale of 1 to 10.
So you're holding yourselves accountable for having a productive meeting.
Exactly. The goal is to consistently have meetings that are at a level 10, meetings that are valuable for everyone involved.
So what's on the agenda for a level 10 meeting?
Well, it includes things like checking in, reviewing the scorecard, discussing headlines from each department, identifying, discussing, and solving issues, reviewing the to-do list. And it's all designed to be completed in 90 minutes or less.
So you're staying focused and getting things done.
Efficiency is key. And Wickman also recommends having a dedicated facilitator to keep the meeting on track.
Someone to keep everyone on task and prevent those dreaded tangents.
Exactly. Tangent alert.
Tangent alert. I love it. Okay, so in addition to the 90-day world and level 10 meetings, Wickman also emphasizes the importance of having quarterly and annual meetings.
Yes. It's about creating a rhythm, a cadence of regular meetings that keeps everyone connected and moving in the same direction.
And these meetings are a chance to step back, look at the big picture, and make sure you're still on track to achieve your vision.
Exactly. They're also a great opportunity to celebrate successes, recognize team members, and build camaraderie.
And he also talks about same-page meetings, right?
Yes. Those are especially important for partners or for that visionary integrator relationship that's so crucial in many businesses.
It's about making sure everyone's on the same page, literally. No surprises, no miscommunications.
Right. And it can really help to prevent those little misunderstandings from blowing up into big problems down the road.
It's all about proactive communication.
Exactly. Now, even with all of this structure and discipline, there's still the danger of getting distracted by shiny stuff.
Ah, yes. Shiny stuff. The entrepreneur's kryptonite. Those new ideas, opportunities, problems that seem urgent but aren't really important.
They can derail your progress so easily.
And it's so hard to resist, right?
It is, especially when you're a passionate, driven entrepreneur. But Wickman suggests finding a challenge inside your business to stay engaged with the existing vision. Maybe there's a cultural project that needs tackling or a new product or service you can develop within your core focus.
So you're channeling that energy into something that actually moves the needle.
Exactly. Or find a challenge outside the business, something that excites you without pulling you away from your main goal.
Like a hobby or a volunteer project.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance between staying focused and staying energized.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground today. But I think this has been a really valuable deep dive into Gino Wickman's Traction. It's such a practical and actionable book.
It really is. And it's a great reminder that achieving traction in your business isn't about luck or chance. It's about having a system.
It's about having a clear vision, the right people, reliable data, a system for solving issues, well-defined processes, and a disciplined approach to execution.
And that's what EOS provides, a framework for success.
And the best part is, you can implement the entire EOS model, or you can just pick and choose the tools and concepts that resonate with you.
Exactly. There's something for everyone.
Well, Sophia, thanks so much for joining us today. This has been a really insightful conversation.
My pleasure, Steve. Always a fun time diving deep into these books with you.
And to our amazing listeners out there, be sure to subscribe to Motivation Library for more deep dives on the best business and self-help books. And hit that like button to support our podcast. It really helps us out.
And let us know in the comments what resonated with you from this discussion and what you're going to implement in your own life or work.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep gaining traction.